I want to talk about the dark and the feminine. My name is Tania Aurora White Crow, and I work as a shamanic medicine woman. And for me, the darkness is the feminine. And yet, in our society, in our culture, in this paradigm, the darkness is equated a lot with evil. And I feel we need to really reclaim our language around that, because while we equate the darkness with evil or nefarious, non-benevolent forces, we are still part of subjugating the feminine. And so to explore this a bit more deeply, I'll be sharing from my work as through how I've been shown it by my guidance, my spirit teams. And part of reclaiming our language, like we can often use things in consensus reality, like healing is one. Most of us know that it's not so much about healing rather than stepping into the fullness or the wholeness of ourselves as we release all of these outmoded belief systems and conditioning of the society we find ourselves in. And the dark is one of those, but for me, it's a lot deeper than that. When we look at yin-yang, it's the light and the dark. It's the masculine and the feminine. The masculine is the light and the feminine is the dark. And these nefarious, non-beneficial energies can be found in either. And yes, we need to talk about light and dark for contrast, but here I really want to explore the feminine a bit more deeply, as in relationship to the dark. So not just on a personal level as divine feminines, or those of us who may be in a masculine embodiment but are also working with their feminine energy, in whichever way that may be. So in the same way there's the maiden mother crone, there's also these three layers to the darkness, to the feminine. So what has happened in our current conditioned paradigm is that we're encouraged to look for light, look for the clarity. So look for those masculine qualities, and all of these negative implications of what the sort of the dark creational energy is. Okay, so there's this kind of like bottom heavy. So if you think like there's three layers to the feminine, to the dark, we are only encouraged to work with that first layer. So the layer of the maiden, the layer of the shadow, okay? And really not to explore beyond that. At least that's the way it has been. So we kind of dabble in that juvenile energy, if you like, for a while, but not to get any deeper. So, when those of you who are familiar with the film Stepford Wives, and, that is that kind of energy of not being able to move. It's kind of stuck. Nothing's able to really fully flow because it's very linear and one directional, and it's not in that beautiful cycle of life that we see in nature and in everything else. And I don't think it's any accident that Spirit has me recording this outside with the gorse bush outside my little medicine hut here, or shepherd's hut. So so the way I've been shown things is the shadow is the maiden. The next layer, which is the mother, we'll call the creational layer. And then the final layer, the origin, which is the crow. Okay. And so when we're in the layer of the mother, what we need to be careful of is, what are we creating from? So once we have done enough shadow work and we've worked through enough shadow and we've, you know, and we've done that, then we start to gain access to the creational layer. We are able to create, we start to be able to manifest, and we start to really step into our power and engage with that. But what are we creating from? Okay? Are we creating impurity, or are we still continuing to create from distortion? And so within that then is, you know, this is the layer of the mother. So you can say this is the layer of Mother Earth. This is the layer of the Divine Mother. So what comes before that is the elder, the Divine Crone. Who called the Divine Mother into being? And as I've been shown this is Tiamat. Tiamat is our Divine Elder. She is the Divine Crone. She gave birth to Mother Earth, or Mother Earth evolved from her, however you like to see that. In the same way, Gaia is the maiden. She is the ascended version of Mother Earth. She's the divine child. Okay? So this is, like I say, this is how I have been shown that. So there's still a lot of healing that we have to do as the divine feminine. You know, we're becoming, or many of us are becoming, very familiar with the Divine Mother. But what about the Divine Crone? Because there's something really deep within that really needs to be healed. And part of that is our language around darkness and the vilification of her, or the vilification of the Divine Crone, the vilification of Tiamat. Whatever perspective you may see them, or whatever archetype, whether that's as the Morrigan or the Kaliak, as something to be feared. But just because she is fierce does not mean that she is not of love. You know, those of us who are able to be gentle, those of us who live in peace, it's because we have done the battle within. We've engaged in that conflict. We've engaged within that war. Okay? So we are then able to live in peace within ourselves. It's not necessarily easy, but it's also nothing to fear either. And this is part of that vilification, because to get to that point, that's our return to the origins. That's the return to the original dream. The return to how, without the distortion coming in, how creation, the highest timeline for creation to have unfolded within. Okay? Now, as I've been shown the story, a lot of our angst, shall we say, around the Divine Elder is also connected with the Divine Masculine. And if we look at it from a planetary level, okay, and again, this is as I have been shown, when Tiamat made the decision. Now, I'm not one who knows much about galactic history or the galactic wars, so I can only talk about what I've been shown. I keep emphasizing that. But when Tiamat was under attack, so if you can think that there's this massive war going on, Tiamat is under attack. And so she, as a planetary consciousness, has to make a decision. Do I allow the loss of this sacred knowledge? Or do I save it? But to do that, I'm the one who is going to have to destroy myself rather than allow myself to be destroyed. Okay? I feel quite emotional saying that. And that's the decision she made. And the Divine Masculine helped her. In my poem, Dragon King, there's a line that says, "For he who so loved the earth became her." The Divine Masculine, as the protector of the Divine Feminine, sacrificed himself so that she could rescue, could save sacred knowledge, right, for us, for now. So she dives through the portal, and that is what was laid down. In effect, the bones of Tiamat was laid down in the bones of Mother Earth. That's what created Mother Earth, and that's part of how Mother Earth was created. Take it how you will, okay? Whether you want to take that as literal or whatever. But this is how I've been shown it. So that decision, with any elder making a decision like that, there's going to be a lot of vilification. The Divine Masculine, there's so much trauma around that. You know, so much trauma around that sacrifice. And so as the Divine Feminine, we still have a lot to unravel around that. Around why aren't we stepping into our eldership? Why aren't we looking at that deep wounding that really of that vilification of Tiamat rather than her vindication? Because that is, each time we equate dark with evil, that is what we're doing. Every time we do that, that is, again, accepting that she was wrong to do what she did, and therefore the Divine Masculine was wrong to support her. I spent many years doing grid work, and where this was shown and unfolded to me over that time. Okay. So it's a lot more complicated than I'm able to share in what I was hoping to be a much shorter video. But my guidance is that this needs to be said. This work needs to be done. And it really does boil down to stop using the word dark to equate with evil, because then you are letting that patriarchal paradigm win.